The text came through at 7:47 p.m. 13 minutes before their reservation.
Can't make it tonight. Sorry, the death thing is just more complicated than I thought. Merry Christmas. Emma Collins stared at her phone in the restaurant parking lot. Christmas lights blinking mockingly around her. For years, the number echoed in Emma's mind like a curse. For years since she'd stood in a beautiful white dress, flowers in her hair, waiting at the end of an aisle for a man who never came, she could still see it perfectly. Her father's confused face as the minutes ticked by. Her sister Sarah trying to reach Marcus on the phone, the whispers starting among the guests. And then Marcus's mother had appeared. Not Marcus, his mother. "Amadar," she'd said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Marcus asked me to tell you he can't go through with this. He's very sorry, but his family, we just don't think this is the right fit." What? Emma had signed. Her hands shaking. "What are you talking about? You're a lovely girl, but Marcus needs a wife who can hear, who can answer the phone, who can participate fully in family gatherings. Surely you understand." Sarah had translated, her face white with rage. Emma had stood there in her wedding dress in front of 200 guests and felt her entire world crumble. Marcus had texted later, not called. Texted, "I'm sorry. I wanted to, but my family is right. It wouldn't work. You deserve someone who can handle your situation better than I can. Your situation, like being deaf, was a temporary condition. Like it was something she'd chosen." Emma had spent the next year in her apartment, barely working, barely living. But tonight, sitting in this parking lot with another rejection text. She wondered if maybe they'd been right all along. She should drive away, go home, spend Christmas Eve alone like she had for the past 4 years. Instead, she walked inside. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. Earlier that evening, before the text, before the disaster, Emma had been at her sister's house getting ready. Sarah was doing Emma's makeup, her hands gentle, but her expression worried. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah signed when she put down the makeup brush. "You don't have to force yourself to date. Just because I think you should." "I'm sure," Emma signed back, though her stomach was churning. "It's been 4 years, Sarah. I can't hide forever." "You're not hiding. You're protecting yourself. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because from where I'm sitting, they look pretty similar." Sarah sat down, taking Emma's hands. "What Marcus did to you was unforgivable. But Emma, you're letting him win. You're letting one terrible man convince you that you're not worth loving. What if he was right? What if I am too complicated, too much work? Then those people don't deserve you. The right person won't see you as work. They'll just see you." Emma wanted to believe her. She really did. This guy, Alex, his profile seemed nice. He works in tech. He said he's always wanted to learn sign language. That's what Marcus said, too. I know, but I have to try, right? Otherwise, what's the point? Sarah pulled her into a hug. The point is you deserve happiness and you're brave enough to keep looking for it even after being hurt. That's not weakness, Emma. That's strength. Now, hours later, Emma walked into the restaurant. The place was full of happy couples, families, laughter. Emma found her table, the one she'd reserved for 2, and sat down alone. The waiter approached with sympathetic eyes. "Will anyone be joining you?" Emma signed, then remembered he probably didn't understand. She shook her head. She was gathering her coat when she heard small footsteps. 2 little girls appeared beside her table. Identical, maybe 7 years old. Blonde curls, white dresses, white concerned eyes, and then they signed, "Why are you crying?" Emma's breath caught. These children knew sign language. What she didn't know was that these 2 girls had been praying for a Christmas miracle and they just decided she was it. Emma wiped her eyes quickly, startled. "You know, sign language." The
The girls nodded in perfect unison.
Our grandma is deaf. The first one signed. She taught us. I'm Grace. I'm Hope. The second added. Are you okay?
You look really sad.
Emma managed small smile. I'm fine, sweethearts. Just having a hard evening. Are you alone? Grace asked with a blunt honesty.
Only children possessed.
Yes, on Christmas Eve. Hope's eyes widened. That's not right. Nobody should be alone on Christmas Eve.
Before Emma could respond, a man appeared tall, dark-haired, slightly disheveled, and clearly panicked.
Grace, Hope, you can't just run off like that.
He stopped when he saw Emma, his expression shifting from panic to confusion to embarrassment.
I'm so sorry.
They just disappeared from our table.
He was speaking aloud, his hands still. He didn't know Emma was deaf.
Grace tugged on his sleeve and signed rapidly.
Daddy, this is our new friend. She's deaf like Grandma and she's alone. Can she have Christmas dinner with us?
The man, their father, looked at Emma, then back at his daughters, clearly overwhelmed. Emma spoke, her voice carrying the particular quality of someone who'd learned to speak without hearing.
I'm sorry. They just came over to check on me. I didn't mean to.
You're deaf, he said, then immediately looked embarrassed.
I mean, obviously. I'm sorry that sounded. Emma held up a hand, smiling despite herself. It's okay.
Yes, I'm deaf and your daughters are very sweet, but I don't want to intrude on your dinner.
Please come.
Hope signed, her small hands moving with surprising fluency.
We have lots of room. And Daddy's always sad, too. Maybe you can be sad together and then not be sad anymore. The man's face flushed.
Hope you can't just it's Christmas, Grace interrupted, signing and speaking simultaneously.
And she's alone. That's what Grandma always says. Nobody should be alone on Christmas.
Emma felt her resolve crumbling. These two little girls, with their earnest faces and fluent sign language, had just offered her more kindness than she'd received in months. I'm David, the man said, extending his hand. Then slowly, carefully, he signed.
Would you like to join us?
His signing was hesitant, unpracticed, but the effort touched Emma deeply.
Emma, she signed back. And yes, thank you. I'd like that very much. As they walked to David's table, Hope slipped her small hand into Emma's. You're really pretty, like a princess.
A Christmas princess, Grace added from Emma's other side. Emma felt tears threatening again, but this time they were different. David's table was by the window, overlooking the snow-covered street.
A small Christmas tree sat in the corner, lights twinkling.
It was warm and festive and exactly what Emma's lonely heart needed. So, David said once they'd settled in, his hands moving awkwardly as he tried to sign and speak. I apologize in advance for my terrible sign language. My mother's been trying to teach me for years. But I'm a slow learner. You're doing fine, Emma signed back, speaking simultaneously for the girls.
Your daughters are fluent. That's impressive.
They spend every weekend with my mom, David explained.
She insisted they learn young. Said it would help them understand that different doesn't mean less.
Your mother sounds wise.
She is stubborn, opinionated, and wise.
The girls were already coloring on the paper menus. The restaurant provided.
But Emma noticed they kept glancing at her, smiling shyly. Can I ask? David said carefully. What you were doing here alone? If that's not too personal. Emma hesitated, then decided honesty was easier than deflection. Blind date. He can led via text 13 minutes before we were supposed to meet. David's expression darkened. That's cruel. It's not the first time.
People say they're okay with the deaf thing until they realize what it actually means.
What does it mean?
Emma looked at him, surprised by the genuine curiosity in his voice.
It means effort. Learning sign language. Patience when I can't understand speech. Making sure I'm included in group conversations. Remembering that I can't hear the doorbell or phone. Most people decide it's too much work. Their loss, David said simply. Emma felt something warm bloom in her chest. What about you? Why are you having Christmas dinner 2 days early? David's expression shifted, pain flickering across his features. We always do Christmas Eve dinner out. It's tradition. Grace and Hope's mother started it. Started. Emma caught the past tense.
She died, Hope said matter-of-factly, not looking up from her coloring.
When we were born, Emma's breath caught. I'm so sorry.
David's hand stilled on his coffee cup, his eyes distant. Rachel was terrified when we found out it was twins, he said quietly, signing as he spoke. The pregnancy was hard. Really hard. She was sick constantly. The doctors kept warning us about complications. Emma waited, giving him space to continue at his own pace, but she was so excited. She'd already picked out names, Grace and Hope. She said those were the two things she wanted our daughters to always have. Grace to be kind. Hope to never give up. His voice cracked slightly. The delivery started out fine, normal. The doctor said everything was progressing well. And then Grace was born and she was perfect, screaming, healthy, beautiful. Emma could see tears building in his eyes. But then something went wrong. Rachel started bleeding a lot. Hope was in distress. The doctors were rushing around shouting medical terms I didn't understand. They did an emergency C-section. Got Hope out. She was so tiny, so blue, but she started crying. She was alive. David wiped his eyes roughly. Rachel never woke up. Hemorrhage. They tried everything. I was holding Grace, watching nurses work on Hope. And my wife was dying 10 feet away. And I couldn't do anything. David, Emma signed softly. The last thing she said to me before they put her under for the C-section was, "Take care of our girls. Promise me you'll let them be happy." And then she was gone. He looked at his daughters, now 7 years old, laughing as they colored. For 7 years, I've kept that promise. I've made sure they're happy, healthy, loved. But I forgot the second part. I forgot that I'm supposed to be happy, too. You didn't forget, Emma assigned. You just didn't think you deserved it. How did you know? Because I felt the same way. After Marcus, after being left at the altar, I convinced myself I didn't deserve love. Because I was too difficult, too broken. You're not broken. Neither are you. They sat in silence for a moment. Two people carrying different grief but understanding each other perfectly. Dinner arrived, turkey, stuffing, all the Christmas classics. The girls insisted Emma sit between them and they spent the meal teaching her their favorite sign language games. This one is from Grandma. Grace signed. You sign a word and we have to sign 3 words that connect to it. They played for nearly an hour. Emma signed snow and the girls rapidly signed cold. White Christmas Angels ice cream. Ice cream. Emma questioned laughing. Snow is cold. Ice cream is cold. Obviously connected. Hope said with 7-year-old logic. David watched them. Something shifting in his expression. I haven't seen them this happy in months. They're wonderful. Emma signed. You should be very proud. Can I ask you something? David said, have you always been deaf? Since I was 3, meningitis. I lost my hearing over about 6 months. I have some memories of sound, but they're fading. That must have been hard. It was hardest on my parents. They learned sign language, made sure I went to a good school, fought for my accommodations. They made it clear that being deaf wasn't a tragedy, just a difference. Like my mom did for me, David said. Growing up with a deaf mother, I never thought of it as a disability, just part of who she was. Emma felt tears prick her eyes again. 4 years of dating, and she'd never met someone who just got it. After dinner, the girls insisted on showing Emma their favorite Christmas decorations around the restaurant. David followed, smiling at their enthusiasm. She has a Christmas tree in her hair. Hope signed excitedly, pointing at a woman with festive hair clips. That's called being festive. Grace corrected. Grandma does it, too. Last year, she wore jingle bell earrings. Emma laughed. I'd like to meet your grandma. You should come to Christmas. Hope said immediately. Grandma would love you. Hope. David warned gently. We can't just invite people to Christmas. Why not? Grace challenged. You always say Christmas is about including people. And Emma shouldn't be alone. David looked at Emma helplessly. I'm sorry. They're very enthusiastic. I think it's beautiful. Emma signed. But you don't have to. Do you have plans? David interrupted. For actual Christmas? Not the disaster blind date. Real plans. Emma hesitated. My sister invited me to her house, but her husband's family will be there and they don't sign. And it's always exhausting pretending I'm fine while everyone talks around me. Then come to us, David said, and he sounded like he meant it. My mom hosts. It's loud and chaotic, and my brothers will probably argue about sports, but everyone signs, even when they're yelling. I couldn't intrude. You wouldn't be intruding. You'd be saving me from being the only single adult in a room full of my smug married brothers. Emma laughed when you put it that way. Please come. Grace and Hope signed together, their identical faces pleading. Okay, Emma said. Yes, I'd love to. The girls cheered so loudly the entire restaurant turned to look. As they left the restaurant, Hope grabbed Emma's hand again. I prayed for you. You know what? At church. I prayed that Daddy would find someone nice, someone who would understand us, and then you were there, so I think God sent you. Emma's throat tightened. I think maybe he did. David walked Emma to her car. The girls running ahead to make snow angels in the parking lot. Thank you, he said, for being kind to my daughters. For giving us one of the best Christmas Eves we've had in years. Thank you for rescuing me from a very sad evening. They stood in the falling snow, neither quite ready to leave. Can I ask you something? David said, the guy who can lead. Did he know you were deaf? Yes, I told him up front. He said it was fine. He even said he'd always wanted to learn sign language. Emma laughed bitterly. I guess he'd change his mind then. He's an idiot. Emma smiled. You keep saying that because it keeps being true. He pulled out his phone. Can I have your number so I can text you the address for Christmas and maybe text you other times, too? Emma's heart fluttered. I'd like that. As she drove home, her phone buzzed. David, the girls wanted me to tell you they already told Grandma about you. Fair warning, she's going to interrogate you on Christmas. She takes the protective grandmother thing very seriously. Emma, I'm not scared. David, you should be. She once made my college girlfriend cry. Though in fairness, that girlfriend was terrible. Emma, what happened to her? David, she lasted 3 weeks. Mom said anyone who wouldn't learn sign language to talk to her wasn't worth keeping. She was right. Emma felt warmth spread through her chest. Emma, your mom sounds amazing. David, she is. She's going to love you. Fair warning. She's also going to ask invasive questions about your intentions toward her son. Emma, I just met you tonight. David, that won't stop her. She's been trying to set me up for 7 years. Emma smiled at her phone. Emma, see you Christmas. David can't wait. 2 days later, Emma stood on the porch of a warm, welcoming house decorated with more Christmas lights than should be structurally sound. She could feel the bass from Christmas music vibrating through the floor.
The door flew open.
Grace and Hope stood there in matching red dresses. "You came," they signed, pulling her inside. The house was chaos. Beautiful, warm, loving chaos. A massive Christmas tree dominated the living room.
Children ran everywhere. Adults talked over each other.
And in the center of it all, sat a woman in her 60s with silver hair and David's kind eyes.
Margaret Harrison stood and approached Emma, signing as she spoke.
"So, you're the woman who made my granddaughters believe in Christmas miracles." "I think they made me believe in miracles," Emma signed back. Margaret studied her for a long moment, then pulled her into a fierce hug. "Welcome to the family, dear.
Now, let me introduce you to everyone. Fair warning, they're loud." The next few hours were a blur. David's 3 brothers, all married, all gregarious, all fluent in sign language. Their wives, their children.
The noise was overwhelming, but in the best way, and everyone signed. Even when they spoke, hands moved. It was inclusive and natural and everything Emma had always wanted. David appeared at her elbow with a cup of eggnog.
"Surviving, thriving." Emma signed back. "Your family is incredible."
"They're a lot. They're perfect." David's youngest brother, Mark, approached. "So, David tells us you're a children's book author."
Emma nodded. "Illustrator mostly, though I write some, too."
"What kind of books?" "Stories about kids who are different, deaf characters, kids in wheelchairs, characters with autism, stories where being different is just part of who they are, not the whole story."
Margaret appeared, eyes bright. "I need to see these books. I have some in my car, actually. I always carry samples." "Get them, Margaret." "Immediately." 20 minutes later, Emma's books were spread across the coffee table.
The entire family gathered around as she read, signing the stories while David translated the spoken words for those who wanted to hear both. The books featured a deaf girl detective, a boy in a wheelchair who solved mysteries, twins who used sign language to communicate secretly.
Grace and Hope transfixed. "These are amazing," Margaret signed. "Why haven't I seen these in stores?" "They're independently published. Hard to get into major retailers."
"That's ridiculous. Every child should have access to these."
After dinner, after presents, after the chaos settled, Emma found herself alone with David on the back porch.
Snow fell softly around them. "Your family is wonderful," Emma signed.
"They like you. Mom especially.
She pulled me aside earlier and told me I'd be an idiot to let you go."
"We just met 2 days ago."
"Mom says she knew Dad was the one after 2 hours. They were married 6 months later."
Emma's breath caught. "That's fast."
It is David's turn to face her fully.
"Can I tell you something? And you can't laugh." "I won't laugh."
"When Grace and Hope dragged you to our table, I thought they were being their usual chaotic selves. But watching you with them, seeing how naturally you fit with my family, how my mom looks at you like you're already one of us."
He paused.
"I'm starting to think maybe Hope was right.
Maybe this was meant to happen."
"David, I know it's crazy. I know we barely know each other. But Emma, I haven't felt this way since Rachel.
I haven't wanted to feel this way.
And then you literally appeared on Christmas Eve sent by my 7-year-old daughters who decided we needed each other." Emma felt tears on her cheeks.
"I'm scared." "Me, too.
I've been hurt a lot by people who said they understood and then decided I was too much work."
"You're not too much anything. You're exactly right. You don't know me. Then let me get to know you.
Let me learn all your favorite things and your pet peeves and what makes you laugh.
Let me prove that I'm not like the others."
Emma looked at this man, widowed father of twins, son of a deaf mother, and felt something she hadn't felt in 4 years.
"Hope." "Okay," she signed. "Let's try."
David's face broke into a smile that transformed his whole app.